You have a memory from when you were 7. Maybe it is a birthday cake, a dog. You can see it. You can almost feel it. But before age 3, nothing. A complete blank. Not a single image, not a smell, not a sound. Just silence where a whole life used to be. That is strange, because those years were not empty. You were learning, you were feeling, you were forming. Your brain was more active than it will ever be again. So why can't you remember any of it? The answer is not what you think, and it reveals something unsettling about memory itself. For most of the 20th century, scientists assumed infant brains were simply too underdeveloped to store memories at all. The hardware wasn't ready. The software hadn't loaded. That was the explanation, and it seemed to make sense. Babies can't talk. They can't reason the way adults do. Of course they can't remember. But then researchers started looking more carefully, and what they found changed everything. In the 1980s, psychologist Carolyn Rovee-Collier ran a series of experiments that would quietly upend the field. She tied a ribbon from a mobile to the ankle of a 2-month-old infant. The baby kicked. The mobile moved. The baby kicked harder. Within minutes, the infant had learned that its leg controlled the mobile. Then Rovee-Collier came back 2 weeks later, tied the same ribbon to the same ankle, and hung the same mobile. The baby started kicking immediately. It remembered. It had formed a real functional memory before it could sit up on its own. Your brain at 2 years old was not a blank slate. It was a recording device. The problem is not that it failed to record. The problem is that you can no longer play the recordings back. Here is why. Memory is not one system. Your brain runs several kinds of memory simultaneously. There is procedural memory, the kind that teaches your fingers how to type or your legs how to ride a bike. There is emotional memory, which stores how something felt even when the details dissolve. And then there is episodic memory, the kind that lets you narrate your own life, the kind that places you inside a story. You, here, then. Episodic memory depends on a structure deep in your brain called the hippocampus. And the hippocampus, it turns out, is one of the last regions to fully develop. In the first years of life, the neurons in this region are still forming connections, still growing, still learning how to encode experience in a way the adult brain will later be able to retrieve. Memories were being laid down, but they were being laid down in a language the future version of you would not be able to read. Neuroscientist Paul Frankland at the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto has spent years studying this phenomenon, which scientists call infantile amnesia. His research revealed something even stranger. It is not just that infant memories fail to form properly. New brain cells actively interfere with the old ones. In the first years of life, the hippocampus produces neurons at a rate that will never be matched again. This neurogenesis, this explosive birth of new cells, physically disrupts the circuits that stored earlier memories. The new wiring overwrites the old. Your brain does not just forget your early childhood, it grows over it. Think about that. The very process that was building your brain was simultaneously erasing its earliest records. But there is another layer, and this one is about language. No beginning, no middle, no end. They were sensations without narrative, feeling without frame. The moment you acquired language, you gained a tool for turning experience into story. But the experiences that came before language, they had no story. They had no shape the mind could hold on to. Around age 3 to 3.5, not because nothing happened before then, but because before then, you had no way to build the scaffold that memory needs to survive. You have been living with the evidence of those early years your whole life. Your fear of certain sounds, the way a particular smell floods you with something you cannot name. The ease with which you learn to walk, to reach, to trust. None of that is gone. It is stored in the older, deeper systems, the procedural and emotional layers that were running long before episodic memory came online. The child who learned to kick that mobile, the child who felt warmth and fear and hunger and love in those first wordless years, that child built the foundation that every later version of you has stood on. The memories are not accessible. but they are not absent. Researcher Patricia Bauer at Emory University, who has tracked children's memories longitudinally over years, found that children as young as 2.5 can verbally recall events from months earlier, but that most of these memories fade rapidly before age 4. The window closes, the stories dissolve. What remains is not a recording, but a residue. So here you are, an adult who cannot remember being small. You assume those years are simply missing, but they are not missing. They are underneath you. They are in the way your body moves and the things that make you flinch and the moments that feel, without reason, like home. You think your memory begins at 3, but your brain began building you the moment you arrived. Everything that happened in that silence shaped the person doing the remembering. The blankness is not absence. It is the deepest foundation you have, and it has been holding you up all along.